Hello, my name is Judy. Welcome to the Liberated Multitasker. Today I thought we would just visit. I'm going to make me some breakfast, and then I'm going to make some freezer meals, some convenience meals for one of my family members. So come join me. And I'm just going to fry me up 2 eggs with some pepper jack. Let me get this cut on. And that's going to be my breakfast. These are eggs from my chickens. I've already done my morning chores. I fed the dogs and fed the baby chicks and fed the big chickens and let them out. I want to show you, speaking of chickens, a friend of mine gave me this little egg basket, and I just love it. It's just the neatest thing. Here is my 2 fried eggs and pepper jack cheese, and I'll bring you back when we begin to prepare the convenience meals. So I'm going to start off making sausage, egg, and cheese English muffins. I've already done a video on that, so I'll link that above so you can watch that if you choose. And I'll bring you back when I start on the next convenience meal. So I have 2 dishes I'm preparing now. One is the 3-ingredient chili magic chili. I've already done that video, so I'll just link it above. And so if you want to watch that, you can see that. The one I'm going to show you now is the chicken noodle casserole. And so the first thing I need to do is get my water to boiling so I can cook my egg noodles. I always put a little olive oil in my water just to help the noodles not stick. And a little salt. I'm just waiting for that to come up to boil. I will bring you back after my egg noodles start to cook. Okay, so my noodles are cooked and I've got them drained. I'm going to put in my rotisserie chicken in this mixing bowl, making sure it's not frozen in the middle. So that's good. I'm going to mix the rest of my ingredients. So I have half a diced onion here. The recipe calls for frozen peas and carrots. I don't have frozen peas and carrots. I'm just using canned. And instead of a cup and a half, 12 ounces, I'm going to use a full can of each. I've drained the juice, and I'm going to add that in. Now we add a cup of mayonnaise, 2 cans of cream of chicken soup, and then 1 cup of milk. Okay, I think I have this mixed up pretty good, but I do have to add 2 cups of cheese. So it calls for cheddar cheese. I have some mild cheddar, some pepper jack, and some sharp cheddar. So I'm just going to put that in there. Mix this up really good, and then we're going to add our noodles. Now it called for 12 ounces of egg noodles. So I didn't have a 12-ounce bag of noodles. I had 16, and so I'm going to put all 16 in this casserole dish. All that's going to do, as long as I have room for it, is stretch this meal just a little bit longer and allow me not to waste anything. All right, so that looks all good and mixed. I'm probably going to have to add just a little bit at a time. Now I've sprayed this casserole dish with non-sticking spray. And let's see if I can get this all in this dish without making a mess. Okay, we're almost done as far as mixing all the ingredients. The next thing we're going to do is put 1 cup of these breadcrumbs. Now you don't have to use these kind. You can use regular breadcrumbs or Ritz crackers if you need to. We're going to sprinkle this over the top. It says to use a cup. This is a 7-ounce container, so we're just going to do this. And I don't think my casserole dish would have held much more. Now for the last finishing touch, we're going to add 1 stick of melted butter, and we're just going to try to pour that evenly over the top. Now we're going to bake this on 350 for about 30 to 35 minutes until it's good and bubbly and the top is nice and golden brown. Okay, it looks like this casserole is ready, so let's see what it looks like. I'm going to scoop me some out in the bowl for my late lunch, and I'm going to be done for today. And if you're wondering what's for my supper, I'm going to do a convenience meal for me and my husband, and this is a low-carb beef stroganoff. So I don't think I've done this recipe for you, so hopefully I'll do that in the near future. If I can do it without getting it all over the stove. This is going to be a lot. Look at that. That's going to be my lunch. So I'm going to cook probably 2 more casseroles tomorrow, and that will finish me up on those convenience meals. So I'll bring you back probably tomorrow, and we'll see what I cook then. So it's tomorrow, and I'm fixing my breakfast. I've done my morning chores again. I've decided I wanted some cinnamon raisin bread toast, so I'm going to get that oven to broil. I'm going to fry me 1 egg. So my chores were today, obviously the dogs, the baby chicks, and the chickens. I cut my baby chicks some fresh lettuce from the garden. I grow the kind that you cut and it grows back. You can do that for 3, maybe 4 times if you don't cut it too short. And then I sprayed some tomatoes I think might have a little bit of blight. I also had to pull some weeds in my raised bed and make sure I hauled water to my adult chickens. So that's done. I'm going to cook my breakfast, have my devotion, and then we're going to get started on those 2 other dishes. So I was getting all my ingredients together for these dishes and realized I did not have enough shredded cheese on hand. So I had 5 pounds in my refrigerator, but they're in blocks and we're not shredded. So I'm just going to take a minute to go ahead and shred this cheese, and then we will come back for the dishes that we're going to make today. So you'll know if you're doing any type of low carb or keto that you go through a lot of cheese and meat. And so I've worked through most of my cheese, and so I plan to do a Sam's Club grocery haul tomorrow, and so I'll be picking up more cheese then. But I have enough on hand. I just have to shred it, and so I'll bring you back when this is done. So the 2 dishes we're going to fix today are the cheesy chicken skillet, which I've already done, so I'll link that above, and I'm actually doing a double batch of it. But the new recipe is going to be the Mexican cornbread casserole. So the first thing I need to do is brown my ground beef. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going. I'm going to salt and pepper it. You hear the microwave in the background? I'm steaming that cauliflower rice for that cheesy chicken skillet. So I've not tried this one before. When I do convenience meals, I try to do 2 beef and 2 chicken. And the only breakfast ones I've done so far are the English muffins and then the sausage, egg, and cheese biscuits. But you could do bacon if you wanted to. So I got my cheese shredded. I got 5 pounds of that, and that's good because the double batch is cheesy chicken skillet, and the Mexican cornbread is going to take about 3.5 pounds of cheese between those dishes. My ground beef was not 100% thawed out. Mostly, but not all the way. And I have 3 cast iron skillets on my oven right now, so they come in handy. I usually do not use this biggest one because it doesn't always cook evenly because it's a little bit too big for the eye. But I think this is going to be fun to grind my meat and mix everything else together because it will end up in a casserole dish and go in the oven. Now this particular family member is a one-person household, and so I can do 4, 5 dishes and have enough for lunch or supper for the entire month. Now if you're a household of 2, 4, 6 or more, that's not going to work, but it would still give you some convenience. I want you to think about something as we're heading into warmer weather. So I don't know how it is at wherever you stay, but when I cook, it heats my house up. So I'm really considering getting some convenience meals in my freezer so that when it is a lot warmer, I can just heat my meal up instead of having to cook all of it, and will help keep my house cooler. Now there's always grilling, crock pots, Instapots, and air fryers. And I've done all those things, and I will be doing those. But I do like having convenience meals on hand. That was what we had for supper last night. I've decided tonight I'm going to do a sheet pan meal, and it's just going to be chicken fajitas on a sheet pan. I have some chicken tenders I need to pull out of the freezer and go ahead and let them be thawing out. And then I can just use some sliced onion and some of my bell peppers I prepped, and 30 minutes and that'll be done. So I've got my plan for supper tonight. Now both of these recipes call for taco seasoning, and I want you to look to see just how beautiful that is. I just got this in from Azure Standard. I love the smell, and I love just how good it looks. Now I've used Azure Standard before, and I really like them. However, the closest drop to me is about 2 hours away. So I don't actually go to a drop location very often. They don't have one near me. So sometimes I will order things if I can keep shipping to a minimum, and that's what I like to do. Okay, it's time for me to add some things to this other dish, so I'll be with you in just a minute. Okay, so I got those other dishes situated for now. So back to the Mexican cornbread casserole. So it looks like my ground beef is brown. There's not a lot of grease in the pan, so I'm not going to have to drain it. So I'm going to add the corn and rotel. So it calls for a can of cream-style corn, a can of rotel, and it calls for 8.75 ounces of whole corn. I have 11-ounce can. I'm not going to waste it. And this is with all the juice. You know, when you're doing baking, you pretty much need exact measurements. But with other cooking, you can kind of be a little more flexible. Just going to mix this up really well. Man, that's starting to look really good. Now with the Mexican corn casserole, I need to add my seasonings. And it is 1 ounce or 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning mix. I'm going to sprinkle that on. A teaspoon of salt. I'm using Redmond's real salt. And a teaspoon of pepper. So let's get that on there and stir that in. That looks well blended. Seasoning's all in there, and then it tells me to remove the pan from the heat and add 2 cups of cheese and stir until the cheese is melted. Let me cut this off, move it to the back, and get my 2 cups of cheese. Now this tells me to use Mexican cheese blend. But if you've watched any of my videos, I just about use cheddar and pepper jack for everything. I try not to go to the grocery stores any more than I have to. Everything's expensive, and so I just try to find a way to use the things that I like and substitute. So that's what I'm doing here. Instead of using the kind of cheese they call for, I'm going to use what I like and what I have on hand. Get this melted, and let's see what it says next. After I get the cheese melted, I'm going to dump this in this casserole dish. I've put some spray in it for nonstick, and I'll dump it and spread it out evenly, and then we'll start the next step. Good and melted. I really think this is going to be good. My family member likes convenience, but they have a tendency to be a little picky. I'm always trying to sneak some vegetables in there. It looks good. You know I'm going to taste it because I hadn't tried it before. This looks all good and melted. I need to get all of this in this casserole dish. Oh yeah. All right, now we're going to spread this out and go to our next step. Because I have too many things going on at one time, I'm going to cut these skillets off for a minute and focus on this. So for the next step, we're going to make the cornbread topping. So we're going to use 2 boxes of Jiffy cornmeal mix. 2/3 cup of milk, and 2 large eggs. I guess I need to get my oven to preheating. I believe it's 400 degrees. I'm going to mix this up really well till there's no large clumps. I think that looks right. I hope it's right. The cornbread mixture on top. Then we're going to put it in for 17 to 20 minutes. And then you have to wait to see what happens next. All right, so it looks like the casserole's ready to pull out. I'm not done yet though. All that's left is to sprinkle this last bit of cheese on the top and put it back in for about 5 minutes for this cheese to melt. I did cook it on my oven for about 25 minutes. I didn't think that cornbread was done. It's still light colored, but I touched it and it feels right. Lots of times when I'm using stoneware, this Pampered Chef dish, it does take an extra 5 minutes. Let me put this back in. Because once it heats up, it's fine, but it does take it a little longer. So normally when I'm using Pampered Chef, I give it an extra 5 minutes anyway. So I'll bring you back when that is ready. Okay, my cheese is melted. I'm going to cut my oven off. Oh, wow. That just looks fine. Okay, let's see if I can dish some of this up. That just looks and smells so good. So it's still pretty hot, but I've got to taste it. That is really good. So I encourage you to try it if you're not doing low carb or keto. So in 2 days, we have done 12 sausage, egg, and cheese English muffins, 8 cups of chili magic chili, 12 cups of chicken noodle casserole, plus my lunch, 2 dishes of cheesy chicken skillet. I will let you know how many servings we end up there. And then 1 dish of Mexican cornbread casserole, which is really good. So I'll let you know how many servings this is. So not bad. For some convenience meals, there were only 2 new ones. You've seen the other ones. There's 3 that you saw, 2 new ones. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope to see you soon.